Hello. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Reese. I talk about reading here, or sometimes I talk about what I'm planning to read, because in today's video I am talking about the books that I want to read this summer. We are in June right now. Happy June. It's my favorite season to read. Fall is actually my favorite season, but I do a lot of reading in the summer. I live in the northern hemisphere. It's warm. I do a lot of reading outside at night. Night is a strong word. In the evening. Let's say like post-dinner, glass of wine, after work. Yeah, that's when I like to read. When it's still light outside. I'm basically reliving the energy of every childhood summer that I spent reading a bunch. There was a library that I used to go to when I was a kid. They had a summer reading challenge every summer. You got a piece of paper, they gave you a stamp for every book you read. I filled up that page. So what better way to kick off this reading season than talking about some of the books I plan on reading. And I say plan to read because I love a plan. I love going into a new season with like a challenge, a goal in mind. And actually I have 4 goals. Yeah, and most of those I've created a category of the types of books, and that's what makes up my summer reading plan. I'm gonna share that. This will all make sense. Let's talk about the first goal for a second, because it's kind of like underneath everything. It's the foundation of the books that I plan to read this summer, and that is to read books from my physical TBR, otherwise known as books that I already own. I want to do this because I own a good number of books that I haven't read yet, and I also want to prove to myself that I can have an amazing season of reading without having to buy any new books. A lot of joy that I get in thinking about reading is thinking about the books that I want to read and the next books. Clearly, I mean, I'm making a video about this, but I think sometimes the joy of like, oh, like a new book, that, that creeps into the joy of actually reading a book that is new to me. Does this make sense? I hope it makes sense in my head. So that's what's sitting at the bottom of this whole challenge. Also, when I say few months of summer, I'm basically defining this reading season as June, July, and August. I know that it's still sometimes warm in September, and maybe I'll be sitting outside reading at night in the evening in September, but I think of summer as June, July, August, so that's kind of my quarter of reading. Now that that one goal or, larger idea about not buying any books, reading from my shelves, is out of the way, let's talk about the categories that I've decided to read in. Those are, number 1, continuing my author completionist journeys. This is something I enjoy doing. I love reading complete works of authors that I love, admire, and want to learn more from. So that's first category. The second category is what I'm calling reading the heavy hitters. This is reading books that are commonly noted as excellent by the booktube community. And, for some reason or other, I haven't read these books yet. And I think it's time to change that. Number 3, I'm calling this category Blockbuster Summer. These are books that have been turned into movies. I love movies, I love books. This is a no-brainer category. And number 4, the last category, I'm calling Chasing the High of I Who Have Never Known Men. I love that book so much. I have a couple of books that I think are adjacent to that book. I want to figure out what books are like it. I want to share them, recommendations with you all. So that's my little assignment in that category. I'm not going to hold myself so strictly to this list. Let's just say these are the books that I will be picking from, because I know that I'm kind of a mood reader. At least I think I am. Yeah, I also have a good chunk of audiobooks that I'm waiting on my library to deliver, which I'm not talking about here, but I will be sharing when I listen to those. So yeah, let's say this is like a plan, but not a prescription. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Let's start with my continuing author series slash completionist journey. I think this summer is the time for me to read the Outline trilogy by Rachel Cusk. I've read Second Place by Cusk. It's the only book I've read by her. I really enjoyed it. I want to read more of her. I want to understand more of her as a writer. Yeah, I think the time is right for this. I'm excited. I'm probably going to read these back to back unless I end up hating it, and then I will not read the second one. I don't know, but I doubt it. Next in this category is CivilWarLand in Bad Decline by George Saunders. George Saunders is one of my most influential writers. Satire, critique of American culture. I love his writing so much. I love the way he talks about writing so much. This is a book of short stories and a novella. Very workplace wacky. I think the premise is it is a CivilWarLand theme park reenactments. I don't know, but it sounds so funny and intriguing to me, and yeah, it's short. And then rounding out this author series, I plan to read 3 books by Elena Ferrante this summer. Everyone, maybe you're sick of hearing me say this, but I am reading all of her books in 1 year. I have The Days of Abandonment, I have The Lost Daughter, which is a reread, and then I plan to read My Brilliant Friend probably in August. That's also a reread. She is also a very influential writer to me. Very different tonally than George Saunders, just so you know. Yeah, I'm reading all of her books in the order in which they were first published. I can't wait to share more thoughts on her with you all. It's gonna be a Ferrante summer. Let's talk about Chasing the High of I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. I am one of those people who are obsessed with this book, and I've been slowly collecting books that I feel like are similar to that. Yeah, summer feels like the right time to read something kind of weird and dystopian and otherworldly in the dystopian sense, let's say. The first is It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over by Anne de Marcken. The main character in this is alive in the afterlife. That's the premise. I don't know where I read or heard that this was similar to I Who Have Never Known Men. Descriptive words of this book are terrifying, hilarious, and heartbreaking, sharp, funny, what it means to be alive. Those are all the things that I love in a book. I also love a Fitzcarraldo edition, which is what this book is. It's beautiful. Yeah, I'm excited to read this. I think it's going to be very weird, and I can already tell there's like some little drawings in this. Okay, yeah, we're gonna enjoy that one, I hope. Next in this category is The Mune by Sue Dawes. I came across this book in a bookshop where I live. I was struck initially by the cover. It's like a pale gray and yellow. It's very different from what you normally see, what I normally see. So I picked it up, and then on the back it reads, "A group of Victorian women shipwrecked on an island in a parallel universe fight for change," which I mean, that sounds so eerily kind of similar to I Who Have Never Known Men. I mean, Victorian is a new twist. Say no more. I'm in. I'll let you know how this one goes. The next book that's like kind of in this category, but also kind of not, is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. Stay with me on this one. I was informed by Amelia of Amelia's books on Storygraph that an English translation of Orlando by Jacqueline Harpman, author of I Who Have Never Known Men, is being released later this year. Maybe re-released. Maybe it's just out of print right now. I'm not sure. Either way, I've been waiting to read another book by Harpman. I want to go into that book with an understanding of Orlando by Virginia Woolf because Orlando references it. I don't know fully and to what degree, but I know there are similar themes. I know the premise of the book is that the main character is struggling to reread Orlando, at least in the beginning. I know I'm gonna read that book eventually, so I want to go into that with as much history and background knowledge of Orlando that I can, because I have never read that book. And to be honest, I think I've only read Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, and I think it's time to read more from her. So this is the one exception to books that I own. I have this on my library holds. This is like truly an assignment because Harpman as an author I think is very important to me, and so yeah, we're bending the rules a little bit, but I think that's okay. Next category I want to talk about is a big stack of books right here. This is the heavy hitters. What did I call it? Yeah, heavy hitters. Books people love that I just haven't read yet for whatever reason. Because if they're as good as most people say they are, I'm gonna say I'm also going to enjoy them. First, Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This has been on my TBR for a few years. I love books about the ocean. I think, marine biologist? I used to want to be a marine biologist. I've heard people talk about how great this book is. A friend of mine has told me it's their favorite book. I should read this, and I plan to read it this summer. Also on this list is Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. This is a Booker Prize winner. This is a dystopian novel about a family in the Republic of Ireland as it slips into totalitarianism, which sounds dark. I'm curious about this one. I think the writing style is a little unconventional, maybe, which I'm either going to enjoy or I'm gonna hate, I think. Then we have On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I think it's kind of wild that I haven't read this yet because I've just heard like universally good things about this. I've also heard universally that this will make you cry, so gonna get ready for that. I probably won't read this in public. That's actually a good note. I know this is about a mother and a son. I know it's written in epistolary format, which is interesting. Epistolary? I'm probably saying that wrong. I know it talks about race, class, masculinity. Okay, we got some good blurbs on the back here. Tommy Orange, author of There, which I read earlier this year and really loved, says, I dog-eared so many pages the book almost collapsed. It almost did. That's pretty great praise from an author that I also enjoy. So yeah, excited for this. And then Endurance by Alfred Lansing. I have a fascination with survivalist stories from history, especially anything ocean related. This is about a polar explorer and his crew that are in Antarctica, and they are fighting for their lives. It's a survivalist story. I've seen this in many best nonfiction recommendations. I think this is the only nonfiction book on this list. I guess it's a fiction summer for me. Anyways, a friend of mine recommended this to me a while ago. Play It As It Lays is next. Joan Didion. I need to read Didion. I've read some of her essays. I think I've even read all of Slouching Towards Bethlehem a few years ago. Personally, for me, I have a Didion-shaped hole in my reading life, and I would like to change that. Many people that I admire enjoy her writing and have praised it highly. I feel like people talk about her a lot, and I just kind of quietly nod like, because I don't know. And she's from California. I grew up in California. Is she from California? She talks about California. Important to me to start reading Didion so I can just have that knowledge and awareness as a reader and as a writer. Last book in this category is Pure Color by Sheila Heti. When this came out, everyone was talking about it. A galaxy of a novel, explosive, celestially bright, huge, and streaked with beauty. Sheila Heti is a philosopher of modern experience, and she has reimagined what a book can hold. I actually know not a lot about this book. I think it's about an artist, perhaps. Another one that it is wild that I haven't read this yet. Last category of my summer reading plan, the blockbuster books. Blockbuster books. Blockbuster summer. I think we're calling it that. These are books that are now movies. Just two here in this category. I have already seen the movie, but I want to read the book and then rewatch the movie. I think it's interesting to see a story get translated from page to screen. So I think American Psycho by Bret, Easton, Ellis is probably a perfect summer read. I don't know. I've seen American Psycho. I think it's a great movie. I think it is interesting that Ellis and Donna Tartt went to college together. I've never read anything by him before. It seems unhinged. And last in this category, I do own a lot of books that qualify for this, but I don't want to stress myself out too much. Yeah, let's be realistic. So anyways, okay, last book is The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. One of my favorite movies, and I've actually read this before, I think like 4 years ago, and I want to reread it. I think my thoughts on writing have changed in the past 4 years. I think Tom Ripley is one of the most interesting characters in world literature. That's a quote from the back, but it's also could have been said by me because I do think that. And that is my summer reading plan. Those are the books I plan to read over the summer. Maybe some of them, maybe all of them. This doesn't mean that I don't want any more book recommendations, because the TBR, there's still a list, you know, like I'm always adding to books I want to read. This is just a focused plan for the next 3 months to help me achieve some of my goals. What are your plans for the next few months for reading? Curious if this sort of focused approach resonates with anyone else. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you are having a great day, a great week. I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.